And this topic, when life doesn't seem fair, it is a subject where philosophy very closely intersects daily life. Some subjects, the existence of soul, existence of God, they may or may not seem so relevant for us. I have a relative who says that, okay, I believe God exists. He is happy there, I am happy here. So, there is no need for me to get involved with God. So often, some aspects of philosophy, I was at an interfaith meeting in Washington DC, and there one of the Christian pastors, he has written a book, why God exists and why it matters. So often, such things, philosophical ideas, we feel they don't matter to me. How do they matter? Maybe he exists, maybe he doesn't exist. But life's nature, it does matter to us. Because if life doesn't turn out to be fair, then that hurts us immediately, that affects us in a very immediate, this worldly sense. So I was at a university, and this boy, I had come after the program, and he said that, that I used to believe in my God in my childhood, but now I have stopped believing in him. I said, what happened? He said that, life is so unfair that how can there be a God who allows such unfair things to happen? I always tried to be a good person, and this happened to me, that happened to me. So I said, I heard him out as empathically as I could, and then I said, yes, that when life turns out to be unfair, it is very difficult for us. We may study very hard for an exam, and then somehow we don't get the marks, or we work very hard to crack an interview for a job, and somebody who is not as qualified as we are, somehow by some contact or some fluke, they get the job and we don't get the job. How many of you have felt at times that life treated you unfairly? It's almost universal, isn't it? So, we all experience it. Now I told him, yes, it's very difficult to accept it, but let's turn the question around and ask the question, why should life be fair? Why should life be fair? It's why we say, oh, why do bad things happen to good people? Why should good things happen to good people? You say, what do you mean? If I do good, I should get good, isn't it? Yeah, okay, but why? What is the reason why life should be orderly and reciprocate with the way we act? What is the reason for the presumption that order be there? We all assume that when we function in the world, we cannot function without a basic presumption of a cause-effect correlation. If you go back to your room and say you have a friend who comes to visit you, and that friend has got a swollen eye, what happened? No, nothing happened. What do you mean? No, something must have happened. The swollen eye is an effect. It must have a cause. So basically, whatever happens, we presume there is a cause-effect correlation. And based on that cause-effect correlation, we function in the world. So when we see an effect, we want to know what is a cause for that effect. And when we ourselves become a cause for something, we expect the desired effect to come. And when this doesn't happen, it can be very disorienting. But the point here is, we presume a cause-effect correlation. And why do we presume it? If we consider, many people sometimes feel that, oh, I'm scientific, so I don't believe in God, I don't believe in all the spiritual stuff. It is all unscientific. While that notion may be there, but if you look at science itself, science functions on a foundational faith. Some people say science and faith are opposites. But science functions on a foundational faith. And what is that faith? That there is an order in nature. When Newton saw the fruit falling, I was just a couple of years ago in Cambridge and I went to speak there on the topic of science and spirituality. I was invited there in Cambridge. So there, while going by, we passed the tree. It's purported to have been the same tree where Newton saw the fruit falling, under which. Now, that tree is like a pilgrimage place for scientists or aspiring scientists. They want to go and get inspiration for their scientific creativity. Now, when Newton saw the fruit falling, at that time, he inferred from that, oh, there must be, what made this fruit fall? Now, his brilliance in postulating the theory of gravity is appreciated. At the same time, the question itself, what made this fruit fall, implies that things don't happen by chance, that there is a cause, and he assumed that. So, science, if there were no cause-effect correlation in nature, science itself would not function. And all of our scientific progress and our technological advancement happen because we presume that science has a correlation of cause and effect. Einstein is attributed to have said that the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. What does that mean? The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. That simply means that if we consider the universe and everything within it is a product of unguided natural forces, then one set of forces produce the world out there, another set of forces produce the brain in here. So why should the world out there be orderly? Why should the brain here be capable of discerning the order? And why should the two be such that the brain can perceive the exact kind of order that is present in nature? Eugene Wigner, the Nobel laureate scientist, and he wrote a paper, a celebrated paper on the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in the study of the natural world, in natural sciences. It says mathematics, especially advanced mathematical concepts, such as say triple integral calculus or imaginary numbers. Now all these are basically human conceptual constructs. Now why should constructs of the human mind correlate with the way how nature functions? You say there is a fierce storm and we are caught in that storm, and that storm just sweeps us away. And we are in an ocean, we are in a boat, and the boat is swept wildly away. And in that process, we lose our compass, we lose our bearings, we lost our phone. And at that time, a log sweeps by us while we are somehow hold on to the boat. And on that log are written some directions. And those directions are written in a language that we can understand. So now, how did that storm bring us there? How did that storm bring the log there? And why did that log have the directions that we need to know written in a language that we can understand? Similarly, if by unguided natural forces our brain has been produced by some explosion or whatever, by unguided natural forces the world out there has been produced, then why should the world out there function in a way that our human brains can comprehend? So science begins with an act of faith that there is order out there, and let us perceive that order. Now Newton himself believed in God, and he considered his scientific discoveries as spiritual insights into the way God fashioned the world. He said, "O Father, I think thy thoughts after thee. I think thy thoughts after thee." Now, as science progressed, gradually the result was that science started becoming more and more sophisticated in terms of understanding the behavior of natural phenomena better. And then by the start of the 20th century, 1895, at that time, early start of the 20th century, Lord Kelvin is reputed to have said that the biggest problem for future generation of physicists is going to be unemployment. He said, because we have understood the full physical world now. For them, they will have nothing to do except fill in some details. But at that time, sometimes the sky appears to be very clear, but there is just one tiny dark cloud in the distance. And that dark cloud turns out to be like a fierce hurricane. So at that time, there's one dark cloud was black body radiation. Just couldn't make sense of that. And similarly, another was distant objects, their motion, very, very far objects, very, very large objects, their motion, you're not able to make sense with Newton's law of gravity. So Newton's laws of motion basically, not just gravity. So Newton's findings became the bedrock of what was called as classical physics. But by the time the scientists tried to explain these two things, the black body radiation and cosmic objects motion, they just couldn't explain with classical physics. Now when they couldn't explain, they didn't give up the idea that there is no explanation. They tried to find out some other theories, and those theories which they found out, those theories were quantum physics for explaining subatomic particles behavior, and relativity for explaining cosmic bodies moving near the speed of light. Now this whole subject is very technical, and I am trying to explain as simple and non-technical a way as possible. So it will be just outline. The point here is that for our discussion, that when science encountered something which did not make sense, they did not give up the idea that there must be some order. They thought that, okay, the order that we know, the basis of the order, the Newtonian physics that we know, that doesn't work to make sense of this, then there must be some other order. There is a faith in the principle there is order. If it is not this order, then there must be some deeper order. And now at present, Newtonian physics is considered to be a subset of the more inclusive branches of physics, relativity or quantum physics. But significantly, both quantum physics and relativity are at present in many ways violently contradictory, in the sense that quantum physics considers that it's primarily waves that exist, and when we observe the waves wave function collapses, and that's how we see objects. But relativity thinks that the actual particles do exist. So these two are very different conceptual models, and how to integrate the two, that is something which even the best scientific brains have struggled and have almost given up. Stephen Hawking, who passed away a month or so ago, he said that after many years, many decades of trying to find what is called a grand unified theory, he said in one public announcement that I'm happy to announce that humanity's quest for knowledge will never end. What that means is that we don't know, and we will never know. It's the admission of ignorance. So the point is that again, that there are these two models. So we can make sense of some part of the world using this model, quantum physics. We can make sense of some part of the world using relativity. We can't make sense of both. We can't make sense of everything using either model. And how to bring these two models together, we don't know. But what do scientists do? They adopt a functional approach. Whichever model works, adopt it and move forwards in life. So when science finds that things don't make sense, then they are ready to look for some other theory that makes sense. And then even if the theory doesn't make complete sense, as much sense that they can make with it, they use it and move on. A similar pragmatic approach is what we also need in our lives. We do normally see a cause-effect correlation. If I eat healthy, I stay healthy. If I eat junk food, then I fall sick. It's a normal correlation that we see. But sometimes this correlation may not be seen. Some people, they just eat. Some people, just little imbalance in their diet and their health gets spoiled. Now, their body is too sensitive, too vulnerable. Some people, they treat their tongue like a conveyor belt. They just tunnel down anything and everything, but nothing happens to them. So now, why is that? I was at a interfaith conference in India, the Science and Spirituality conference. There was this guru who had come, and he said that it was his reasoning, which is I found it hilarious at that time. He said that actually everything is a play of the mind. If your mind is strong, nothing will have any effect on you. And I said, look at me. He says, I have been smoking and drinking every day. He's a guru with disciples. I've been smoking and drinking every day for the last 30 years. I have no heart problem, no liver problem, perfect health. Why? Because my mind is strong. If you make your mind strong, nothing will have any effect on you. So he gave this talk, and about 2 weeks later he got a heart attack and died. So now yes, normally if somebody smokes, drinks, they get a liver problem, lungs problem. But sometimes it may happen that some people just smoke a little bit and they just start coughing so much, they get so many issues, they can't bear it. Some people keep smoking, nothing seems to happen to them. So we see normally a cause-effect correlation. If there were no cause-effect correlation, then no medicine would work, isn't it? But sometimes the cause-effect correlation doesn't work. So similarly, when life doesn't seem fair, that means the cause doesn't produce the expected result. Then at that time, just as scientists look, is there some bigger theory? Is there some deeper theory which will make sense of these things? They're open to that. So this is where the theory of karma needs to be coupled with the theory of reincarnation. That karma means simply action-reaction correlation. A cause-effect, what we call in science, in the interactions involving consciousness. There are conscious beings with free will, at that time we call it karma. So now our present actions, the results come not just because of our present actions, the results are also determined by our past actions. But if we want to look from this life's perspective, it is not that life seems unfair. Life is unfair. It's not a matter of perception, it's a matter of reality. We see, if we look at the world, people's career, people's success, it is shaped by a few factors. One is how they look, appearance. Now some people are just born with great looks, and some people are born with mediocre looks. This is just the way it is. It makes a big difference in life in many ways, but that's the way it is. So in different cultures, some complexion is considered attractive, some color complexion is considered not attractive. Now this is again that affects people's perception of other people, but that's the way it is. It's not just the appearance. We can also consider our intelligence or memory power. Some people just have outstanding memories. Some people have outstandingly poor memories. There is a particular kind of goldfish, its memory lasts a few seconds. So it nibbles from a particular, it's underwater, it nibbles from some grass, nibbles from some underwater vegetation, and then after some time it looks at it, oh, this is new. It again tries to nibble on that. So that's the way it is. So now our memory, our IQ, it does affect us throughout our life. And it's different for different people. Some people just are gifted. So similarly, the family in which we are born, some people are just born with so much wealth. They're born with a golden spoon, as they say. Some people are born in poverty. So in today's world, we may say, some people may think that, oh, if I was born in India, it's not so good. If I was born in America or a first world country, it would be so much better. So now if we consider life, if we look at it from this world's perspective, it doesn't just seem unfair, it is unfair. But then, all the course. And this expectation is reasonably fulfilled. It is sometimes frustrated. Normally when we eat good food, we get energy. Sometimes we eat food and sometimes we just don't get energy. Or that same food may have some effect on us. We get food poisoning or digestive problems. So, at one level, we presume and we also see cause-effect correlation in life. At another level, we also accept that there doesn't seem to be any cause-effect correlation. As I said, right from the starting point of life itself, there is unfairness. Now, because that unfairness seems unchangeable, we just resign to it. Yeah, this is the way I am, this is the way I have to, this is the best I can make of it. So we just accept that and move on. But during the life also, course of life also, sometimes we get unfair situations. So now, basically, if we consider the situation, that's we see some amount of fairness and order in life, and we see some amount of unfairness and disorder in life. So how do we make sense of this? So for this, we need to look at a bigger picture. So if we consider reincarnation, that means that what all I am getting in this life is determined not just by what I have done in this life, but also what I have done in the previous life. So this is the set in which I am looking for cause-effect correlation, and many times I find a cause-effect correlation within this set. The set is this lifetime. But when I can't find the cause-effect correlation in this set, then I have to expand my picture. Expand my picture and look at the bigger picture. What's happening? So say a group of players, say there is in India street cricket is quite common. School since children or some young people, they play cricket on the streets. And all of them may have a mediocre level of skill. And they bowl, they bat, they field. And say suddenly, as they are playing the ball, they have their own group of players. And suddenly the ball comes charging in at much bigger speed than what any of them can bowl. Look, where is this coming from? And there might be an international player who is passing by and he throws the ball. So this is the normal set of which they are playing, but something outside of that set might be much more powerful. So for them, okay, you bowl like this, the ball goes over here, you hit the ball, this is a good shot, that is a good shot, but that is completely out of their scale only. Somebody, an international player might play. So basically, if things don't make sense within one set, then we need to have a bigger set. Expand the scope of our vision. Francis Bacon said that reality should not be reduced so that it fits into our thinking. Our thinking needs to be expanded so that it can accommodate reality. So when we say life is not fair, that means what we are doing? We are looking at our observation and I say, it doesn't make sense. But maybe I need to expand my scope of perception. And that's what the Bhagavad-gita's explanation of karma and reincarnation does. So we, the Bhagavad-gita says, are souls who are on a multi-life journey of spiritual evolution. And in this multi-life journey, we get results of different actions at different times. So each action is like a seed. So different seeds grow out after different time durations, and similarly different actions produce results after different time durations. So when at present we do something and life doesn't seem fair, so at that time we need to understand that something else is going on. The results here are determined not just by my actions alone. So today in the evening I am going to speak elaborately, not elaborately, but I am going to speak in the Sunday Feast class on the topic of destiny. So I won't go into detail about that. Today I am going to speak on the topic of are we the makers of our destiny. But I will just mention some points from there here. If we want to understand how results happen in this world, how things work, we can consider that there is a simple equation. Karma plus daiva plus kala leads to phala. Karma is the work that we do right now. Daiva is destiny. Kala is time. So two examples. If a farmer plows the land, sows the seed, that is the karma. After that, rains have to come at the right time and right quantity, that is daiva. And after that, the season has to change till the harvesting season comes. And then the farmer will get the crops. So karma, daiva and kala together produce the phala. Similarly, say a couple gets married and then they want to have a child. Now they may unite, that is the karma. But sometimes they just don't get a child. Conception just doesn't happen. So their uniting alone doesn't produce a child. There's something higher. And even if there is conception happening, immediately a child is not going to come. There's a period of gestation. And after that the child emerges. So karma, daiva and kala together produce the phala. So now daiva is something which sometimes just it works invisibly. That means sometimes daiva does not intervene in a dramatic way. So then that's why we may not even notice daiva. So if I eat food and I get energy, the karma has produced the phala. But in the daiva is what? The destiny is that I have a healthy body. That's why it's producing that result. But if I have if my stomach is upset because of digestive problems, then I eat the food, it will not give me energy. It may aggravate my sickness. So going back to the earlier example of somebody eating anything and still remaining healthy, what happens is their unhealthy eating is going to have consequences, but just not immediately. By their daiva, the destiny is determined by our own past karma. The kind of karma that we have done in the past, that gets accumulated as our destiny. And that helps us, that determines which karma will lead to immediate phala and which karma will lead to later phala. So some people are just meant to have a healthy body by their past karma, that's the daiva. So their karma doesn't lead to the phala at present. They eat unhealthy, but still they stay healthy. Some people by their destiny, by their past karma, they are meant to have a sickly body. And if they are not very careful, just a little mismanagement, and their health gets spoiled. So normally we may not even consider the daiva is there, because we just presume this action produces this reaction. But when that action result correlation is not seen, that's when we raise the question, why is this happening? So this is the philosophical understanding of why sometimes we may do good but not get the good results. Now to make this whole understanding more acceptable, if we can be a little honestly introspective, we can look at times when we did not put in much effort but still got a lot of good results. How many of you have this experience? You put in little effort but it's got a lot of results, isn't it? It works sometimes for us. As a speaker, I have this experience quite frequently. Sometimes I prepare a lot for a class, and throughout the class people seem to be preparing, when can I leave? So people just don't seem to connect with the class. But sometimes I just go and start speaking, prepare a little bit, and I'm able to connect so much with people. Now, I always try to connect as much as I can, but there is something beyond me. So, sometimes some people say that, oh, this class was life-changing. I feel like saying, my life has not changed. I didn't feel so inspired while giving that class, but somehow, at that time, there's something bigger than me which is also acting. And they just hear the right point at the right time and they are benefited at that time. So, in general, for us, say, if we consider, in general, both the things happen. That sometimes we do a little and we get a lot of results. And sometimes we do a lot and we don't get any result. Say, if we consider a cricket match. Now, if we consider there is a cricket match, the umpire sometimes make wrong decisions. Now, we may have this decision review system also, but still, sometimes the decisions go wrong. So, now all players, say all batsmen, all bowlers, they all know that sometimes we get unfair decisions. And in the long run, it will even out. Sometimes a batsman will be out and he is given not out. And sometimes he is not out and he is given out. Both ways it will work out. But sometimes, say it's a critical phase of the match. And that time, the batsman is out and is given not out. That is much more fateful for the match than, say, the match is in a routine phase and a decision goes wrong. So, the errors of human judgment can happen. But when do they happen? To whom? That can be quite consequential. And therein we see that even in things like sports, there is an element which is beyond human control. The Australian cricket team, maybe 10-12 years ago, was considered to be the world's toughest cricket team. Now, of course, they have got some bad press because of trying to do ball tampering and other things. But so they were considered to be very tough. There one cricket commentator wrote a book about them called "In It to Win It." They're always going. They're dominating the world cricket at that time. So then still this same generation of very tough Australian players, Steve Waugh, Mark Taylor, all of them had their own superstitions. Mark Taylor, whenever he would go out to bat, before going out to bat, he would go to the restroom in the pavilion and he would shut the commodes, all the commode lids. And if he would get out early, he would not go back to the pavilion, he would go to the commode. And if any lid was open, he would go and shout at his teammates, "Why did you keep that open? Because of that I got out." Now, what has the commode lids got to do with his getting out? But even the best of sports players know that performance matters, but performance is not all that matters. There is something beyond their performance which also shapes the results. And their own quirky way, they try to appease that unknown. There's a tennis player who would wear an earring only in one ear, and he could consider like a good luck charm. So they all practice, they all perform, but they know that my performance alone doesn't determine the result. So I'm giving all these examples to illustrate this point that we all at some point or the other acknowledge that there is something beyond my efforts also which provide the results. And sometimes that may work fairly, sometimes may unfairly. So if we understand that something from my past life is coming out now, and that's why things are not working out favorably for me, that's how life seems to be unfair. So from the past life, if we include karma and reincarnation, then life in the big picture is fair. Although in the small picture, it may appear to be unfair. Say, if you have a movie in multiple parts, say, then in the end of one movie, the hero might be beaten up, the hero might be in jail, the hero might be in a dire state in the movie, and he says, "What kind of movie is this?" So I think one devotee was telling me there was this very popular South Indian movie, Bahubali. So at the first part of it, the hero died. So then for 1.5 years people were in suspense, why did he die? What happened? What happened? What happened? So what happens, if you just look at one part, you say, this is a stupid movie. What is this? The hero has died. But then you get the sequel, and then okay, this is what has actually happened. And then you see the full picture, you say, okay, things have turned out right then. The bad guy died, bad guy was killed, and the good guy was successful. So sometimes we just look at one frame, it may not make sense. So if you look at the big picture, then things start making sense. So similarly, when things don't make sense, when life seems unfair, what do? First, just with humility, understand there's a bigger picture, and in the long run, things will even out. So I'll talk about 3 steps for dealing with life's unfairness. First is, look at the bigger picture. Look means we may not be able to see what I did in the past, but intellectually understand that there is a bigger picture. And look at the bigger picture. Okay, this thing went wrong, but that time the thing had gone right also. So it's not that life is deliberately against me, singling me out to hurt me. I was just talking a couple of days ago with a psychotherapist, and he was telling that there are 2 kinds of psychotherapy. There is one-to-one psychotherapy, where people are disturbed and the psychotherapist tries to encourage and help them heal. And there is group psychotherapy. So a group of people all come and talk, and the psychotherapist acts as a facilitator. So he said that for many people, group psychotherapy works a lot better. Why? Because when we are suffering, the mind makes us feel that our suffering is like no one else's suffering. The mind has a desire to feel special. So it wants to feel special by doing something special. See, I am so famous, I am so clever, I am so smart, I am so successful. But if that doesn't work out, the mind in a perverse way wants to feel special by thinking, the suffering I am experiencing, nobody has experienced this. The kind of problems I am going through, nobody has gone through these. But so when they do group psychotherapy, he was telling that as a psychotherapist, he tells people that actually this is the nature of the world, that sometimes everybody gets problems. No, nobody's got problems like me. That's what they feel. But then they have 5, 6, 10 people talking, and each person hears other person's problem. My God. My God. So he said that he did an exercise that he everybody, so they have a code of confidentiality. You are not meant to tell anything to anyone. That's important over there, vital. They said that if after all of them were told to tell the kind of issues they were going through in life, and at the end he told them, if you were given an option, you could take your problems and all of you could put all your problems on the table. Would you want to exchange anyone else's problems? Nobody said, my problems are okay for me. So everybody has issues. So what the mind does is it makes us think that we alone are suffering, and that's why it hurts us more and more. See, the mind gets us alone, and then it gets us. It gets us alone. Life is so unfair to you. You work so hard and work out. That person is so bad. This is like this. This is like this, and then it gets us. So that's why studying the philosophy, and especially understanding the philosophy with people who are realized, it helps us to see the big picture. Yes, like I am getting unfair things are happening, and we don't have to deny it that this hurts. But by seeing the big picture, we will contextualize the problem. Otherwise, the mind will catastrophize the problem. Catastrophize means make it much, much bigger than what it needs to be. Contextualize means, okay, this is a problem, it is there, but this happens sometimes in life. Something in the past must be coming out, some negative karma is getting evened out now. Let me just tolerate it. So, with philosophy, we see the big picture. The second step is that we need to look for the positive. we can't see everything as good, because bad things do happen in life, but we can't see everything as good, but we can see the good in everything. We can see the good in everything. Even when something terrible has happened, you say, okay, I worked so hard for this job, I lost my job. I worked so hard for this relationship and I was just ditched. I've been doing so much work and now I got this terrible disease. So terrible it is. So now, yes, it's terrible, no doubt. But even if that bad thing is there which has happened, we can look at the good even in that. Now, what do you mean good in that? We can look at, okay, this bad thing is there, but are there good things also in my life? Okay, I've got bad health, I've got this disease, but okay, I have some financial security, I have some health insurance. If I had this disease and I didn't have that also, it would have been even worse. Okay, I've got this disease, but I have got family members, I have got relatives, I have got friends. They will help me at this time. Oh, I've got this disease, but at least the disease is curable. But if the incurable disease, it would have been terrible. At least it's curable and I know what treatment to take. So I'm starting the treatment. So, for me, when I was, after I just joined as a brahmachari in late 1990s, within 4 or 5 years, I felt very sick. And it was for almost 4 or 5 years after that, every few days I would fall sick. And it was that nobody was able to diagnose what is the problem. So, and we tried this test, that test, that test. Sometimes it would appear to be good and again it would fall sick. It would be good, again it would fall sick. So, one time I went to a doctor and the doctor did some elaborate tests, and then there are technicians, radiologists, others who do the test, and the reports are given to the doctor, specialist. So, then I was looking at it. So, it says diagnosis, PUO. So, at that time we didn't have Google and everything. I was thinking, what is PUO? It's some disease I have never heard of. Then I went to doctor, he says, oh no, nothing has come out. Nobody said, nothing has come out till now. He said, nobody said PUO. He says, PUO simply means pyrexia of unknown origin. Pyrexia is fever of unknown origin. I also know that. So, that is also a code word for hiding their ignorance. But eventually, after 5 years, somehow they did a chest X-ray, and this doctor told me, he became so grave. He saw my face. My God, he said, you have got advanced TB. You have to be admitted. Thank God. He says, what? Hey, you got advanced TB. Do you understand? He said, yeah, I understand. I said, at least you have diagnosed what is wrong. Otherwise, you don't know what to do. There's something wrong in the body, they're not able to find out what is wrong. So then they found out I had to take almost 8 months to 1 year of intense treatment, but then I recovered reasonably well after that. So, yes, having a serious disease is a problem. But even in that, at least the disease is curable. We can look for good even in that. So basically, if we keep looking at the bad, oh, why did this happen, why did this happen, why did this happen, that will simply hurt us. But if we look for the good, and there is good in everything, I'm not saying that when life is unfair, we see that unfairness as good. That is almost humanly impossible. It is, it's unfair, it hurts. But let me not obsess on that. Let me look at what is good. And for this, our spirituality can be very helpful. So this is the third part, that is, connect with the one who is all good. So Krishna, he is always there with us. He is always there with us in our hearts. And he is the one who can give us relief amidst all problems. There are two distinct ways in which we approach Krishna. There is the material way of practicing bhakti, which is mostly, you can say people do punya. I should go to temple, it should be good. You will get good things by that. There's a material way in which we connect with God, and there's a spiritual way in which we connect with God. The material way of connecting with Krishna is that we connect with Krishna for release from problems. That Krishna, I have this problem, please, please, free me from this problem. When I was in Pune about 7-8 years ago, the temple was right next to a school. And that school was a upper class student school. So the children were not at all religious. They would hardly ever come to the temple. But every April, they would all come to the temple. So, is it that April is the month of bhakti? No, nothing like that. There's nothing mystical about April. But what happened at that time? Exams. Oh, Krishna, please pass me in this exam. That's the time they come. It's good at least at that time they're coming. But here, the point is, they think, Krishna, I have this problem. Please, please, free me from this problem. So we approach God for release from problems. And it's good we approach Him for that. But there is a better way to connect with God. And that is not for release from problems, but for relief amidst problems. See, the nature of this world is problems are going to come. Even if Krishna removes one problem, another will come. That's just the nature of the world. It's like we want to say, it's too cold, Krishna, please let the cold go away. Well, after that, the heat comes, and the heat is, it's too hot, Krishna. Now what do you do? So the nature of this world is it's a place of dualities. So yes, sometimes some problems are overbearing, and we can pray for release from those problems. But we don't make our bhakti conditional to the release from the problems. No, if I am freed from this problem, then God exists, then God is good. Otherwise, God doesn't exist, God doesn't care, God is not good. No. What we do is, if we connect with Krishna for absorption in Krishna, then even amidst the problems, we will get relief. The problem will be there, but we will get relief amidst the problems. By remembrance of Krishna, we will be sheltered. We will be internally calm. It's like, say, outside it's very cold, and it's trembling because of the cold. And then we come to a house which looks like a very comfortable, cozy house. And then we come to that house, we open the door. And we just rush into the house and close the door. We will gain relief. But suppose we come to the door, open the door, and then demand that the heat that is there in the room, in the house, should heat up the whole outside atmosphere. That the room should make the whole weather change. That is not going to happen. So sometimes when we come to Krishna, so if we just absorb our consciousness in Krishna, it is like entering into the house of devotion. We absorb ourselves in Krishna, we can get relief. But instead of absorbing ourselves in Krishna, what do? We come to Krishna, we open the door, and Krishna, you come out and solve this problem. And we just stand at the door, we don't come inside. Okay, has it outside become warm now? It's not yet become. Has it become warm? Has it become warm? Has it become warm? We just keep waiting for that. So instead of trying to get Krishna to solve the problem, we can see that absorption in Krishna is the first solution to any problem. Because many times when the problem comes, it is our reaction that can make the problem worse. Somebody has hurt us and then we hit back at them, and that makes things much worse. But if we just say, I just want relief right now, and I become absorbed in Krishna by that. And through that absorption, the next step that will come is that by that absorption, pacification will come. Madashraya katha mrishta shrunvanti kathayanti cha tapanti vividhastapa naitan madgata chetasaha. In the Bhagavatam it says that in the material world, tapanti vividhastapa, there are many different kinds of distresses that come. but they don't afflict my devotees. Why? Because mad acharya kathamrishta. The devotees take shelter of me, they become absorbed in me. Naitan mad gata chetasaha. Their consciousness becomes absorbed in Krishna. So through the hearing, through the chanting, through the seva, through the reading of scriptures, if we can absorb our consciousness in Krishna, therein we can get relief. And sometimes we may not get, when life is unfair, we may not get God's explanation. Why is life unfair? But more important than the explanation is the experience. If we can experience God, if we can experience inner strength, if we can experience inner relief, that can give us the capacity to deal with this, the strength to deal with the situation. Even if we come to know, okay, in your previous life you had done this and because of this happened. Okay, what next? I have to still live with this. And the strength to live with this will come by absorption in Krishna. So when we seek to come in the presence of Krishna, become absorbed in Krishna, then even amidst the problem we can experience relief. And then that relief will give us, will pacify our mind, and then we will be able to find the best step forward. Then we will be able to, even amidst that unfairness, we will ensure that we won't make things worse. Rather, we will act reasonably and find a path of growth even through that situation. And eventually we'll find that, yes, although one door had closed, another door has opened. But sometimes if we demand Krishna, you open this door, open this door, open this door, then we may just frustrate ourselves. Just take shelter of Krishna, calm yourself down, and then another door will open. Macchittaha sarvadurgani mat prasadat tarishyasi. In 18.58 in the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says that if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all obstacles by my grace. That is the assurance which we can all experience in our lives by taking shelter of Krishna. So I'll summarize. I spoke today about when life seems unfair. I started by talking about we all presume, we expect fairness. Why? Because we presume there is a cause-effect correlation. Science also functions based on a presumption of cause-effect correlation. Newtonian physics evolved because of this assumption. And when Newtonian physics didn't seem to be able to explain nature, then scientists tried to find a bigger theory. That's how quantum physics and relativity came up. So we all have a particular theory. We have a particular frame of reference, that is our present life, and the cause-effect correlation with which we try to make sense of things. But when we can't make sense of things, then we may just become resentful and depressed. Oh, life is so unfair. But instead of doing that, we can look for a bigger picture. That means that karma plus daiva plus kala is equal to phala, and daiva is determined by purva karma, by past karma. So rather than becoming resentful, what we can say is, this is just some phase of bad karma from the past that is getting evened out. So normally daiva may just be invisible and karma leads to phala. But sometimes daiva comes very strongly into the picture. So the first step we need to do is see the bigger picture. When the mind catastrophizes the problem, let the intelligence contextualize it. Sometimes I do good and I don't get a good enough result, but sometimes I don't do much and I get a big result. That has also happened. So performance matters, but performance is not all that matters. So by seeing that, this kind of unfairness everybody has experienced in life. Everybody goes through difficult situations, and we all start with life being unfair because our looks, our intelligence, our family's wealth, they all vary. But there is some cause-effect correlation also we see in life. So if we see the bigger picture, there might be some other cause-effect correlation that we don't know about. That way we can pacify our intelligence to some extent. Second is, look for the good in that situation. The mind will look at the unfairness, but even if we accept that it is unfair, but okay, what is the good in my life that is there, and what is the good especially that is helping me to deal with this bad? I've got this disease, I've lost my job, but what is the good? At least the disease is curable, at least I have health insurance, at least I have a supportive family, whatever. When we look for the good, again the agitation, the distress will go down. And then lastly, seek to connect with Krishna. So Krishna, we may connect sometimes to get release from problems, and he can release also. But this world is problems will keep coming. So instead, if we seek relief amidst problems, that means it's cold, instead of demanding that the heat from a house make the whole atmosphere warm, come into the house. Don't think about the problem, just let yourself be absorbed in Krishna and get calmness by that, get pacification by that. And from there, we'll be able to find out, with the calmness coming in, how to deal with that problem. So even if life seems unfair, still Krishna is supremely fair. He's always there with us in our hearts. And with his guidance, we can overcome whatever problem comes in our life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
So if you want, you can all raise your hand or have this basket as well. You can drop your questions here and we'll have Prabhu answer.
Yeah, yes. So Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I have been like I was fortunate that I got to listen to you in 2009 as well. Like I was attending a camp in Kharagpur that time. So I was very excited that you are coming. So thanks for coming first of all. Like my question is mainly, I don't feel I am making the progress I want to make. Like I have been now associated with ISKCONs. Like the teachings are imbibed in me and it's helping me in the face the word as well. But like I just chant few rounds still. Like I just feel I am not there yet in the the spiritual progress. Like I don't have a guru yet, and it's not that I don't want, but I'm not getting that direction from within that, because I want to be ready before I get to that stage, and somehow I have material desires as well, so they kind of don't let me go to that stage. So sometimes I'm in this mind that get totally spiritual and leave everything, in the sense that totally devote yourself. I still continue to give my service, but I don't feel I'm making the progress in spiritual path how much I want to make.
Okay. So if you feel that we are not able to make much progress in spiritual path, and if you feel that we also have material desires because of which we can't devote ourselves too much to spirituality, then how can we move forwards?
Yeah.
Firstly, that we all have material desires. And I think the word material desires is a very, very broad term. So in material desires also there can be some desires which are pro-spiritual, some which are non-spiritual, some which are anti-spiritual. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a high court judge. He had a desire to become that judge, otherwise he would not have become that judge. But then he used that position in Krishna's service. So it's not necessary that just because we have material desires we cannot practice bhakti. If it is anti-spiritual material desires, a desire to do grievously wrong activities, then that can be a serious problem. Otherwise, if we have some desires and we want to pursue them, that just means that they are going to take a lot of time for us. But still, even if they are going to take a lot of time, nobody, no matter how ambitious they don't work 24 hours a day. So everybody needs a break. Even if they have a passion for doing something, they need a break in that. So then we can decide our priorities. Okay, this particular career goal is my primary ambition. But then my spiritual life is also important. Let me make it second. If it can't be my first priority, at least let me second priority, third priority. But then we don't have to let too many other things come in. So that way, it's in different stages in our spiritual life is the most important. But in different stages in our life, we may not feel the same level of urgency for it. That's okay. If we associate serious devotees, we also start feeling that urgency. But even if we don't feel that urgency, at least with the intelligence we understand the importance. This is what ultimately matters. I am a soul, and the soul is going through many, many lifetimes, and now is the opportunity to grow spiritually. So we make a decision that I am going to practice at some level, and decide at that level, and to stay at that level and to move forward from that level, we need to find something in bhakti which we like to do. if I consider this to be the circle of bhakti and it's a circle of my interest, so find out where it intersects. And if we just keep doing that, we take that as a service, take that as a passion, take that as a something which is a commitment, and keep doing that, from at least that connection will stay. And from there, the connection, the overlapping will also grow. So it's our advancement doesn't just depend on our getting initiated or our chanting a particular number of rounds. These are all very important. But advancement is primarily how much our heart is connected with Krishna and how much we want our heart to be connected with Krishna. And the heart is not just some vague, feel-good kind of sentiment. It has to be expressed through actions. So even if you feel, this is what I want to do for Krishna, and then take it up. Especially if we can find good association, not just good association in the sense that in general good association, but some association which inspires us personally, with someone whom we can connect, then that can just cause our bhakti to flourish. And as far as we not be waiting for the right time, in general, in the material world, there is never a completely right time. So waiting for the right time to take to spiritual life is like waiting for the waves in the ocean to stop so that we can take a plunge and start swimming. We'll be waiting forever. So we have to ourselves take the plunge. Now how do we want to go into the ocean that we can decide? No, I'm not such a good swimmer, so I don't want to go too deep inside. But we can't wait to start swimming. So similarly, we have to push ourselves a little bit. The whole process of sadhana bhakti is the process of voluntary force. Our mind doesn't feel like doing it, we push ourselves. So you can decide how much you want to push yourself, but it's not that we think that in future sometime I will be ready. Yes, we could say at future time I may be readier, but there is no time when everything will be right and I can practice bhakti. So I have to start right now, and what intensity, what pace, that is adjustable. Okay? Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Yeah, so I have a tiny confusion first and a second, and I have a question second. So confusion is that, as you said, once one gets relief when one absorbs Krishna. So can this be equated with solution? Like, so for example.
Okay, I got your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
So if we have a problem, say our health is an issue, or we have some relationship issue, or some job issue problem, then if we absorb ourselves in Krishna, we get some relief. So is the relief itself the solution? Not exactly. When our current existence is dual, or we can say we are spiritual beings living in the material world. So at the material level, we need material solutions. If my hand is fractured, will it by chanting Hare Krishna my hand's fracture be healed? Well, Krishna can do anything, but that's not how it normally works. Even in the Vedic tradition, there is Ayurveda, a specific branch of medicine by which this kind of treatment is done. So we don't demand that Krishna do something miraculous to help us. We want to serve Krishna, not that we demand Krishna, you serve me. So material problems will require material solutions. But what is the best material solution in a particular situation? That is something which we can't figure out unless we are calm internally. So absorption in Krishna gives us the relief by which we can have clarity. It's like, say, if I'm in too much pain, and doctor says, you have this option, you can do this surgery, or you can do this treatment or this treatment. I said, first, I'm having so much pain, I can't think. Give me some relief. Give me a pain medicine. Then I've calmed down and I can think about it. So similarly, absorption in Krishna is one level of the solution. That means at least the lack of the constant distress which prevents us from dealing with the problem, that gets mitigated somewhere. It's not exactly a painkiller, because it is the ultimate solution. When we become absorbed in Krishna, we go beyond this material world to Krishna's abode, where there are no problems. That is Vaikuntha, the abode free from the anxieties of this world. But as long as we live in this world, we want a solution in this world also. So after we have developed that inner calmness, then we can rethink about how to deal with the external situation. And sometimes we may decide, okay, I can just tolerate and live with this. Sometimes I may work aggressively to change it. Sometimes I may just decide to move out of that situation. I call this as the three, broadly when we have troublesome situation, we have three options: tolerate, mitigate, or immigrate. If it's like the weather is too cold for me, I learn to tolerate it, or I get a lot of warm clothes so that I mitigate it, or I immigrate, I go somewhere else where the weather is better. Similarly, when we have a problematic situation, then we have to do one of these three things. Now, which one? Now, all three can be done with a negative attitude. I may tolerate with all resentment pent up within me. I may mitigate, not to solve the problem, but to get revenge at the other person. You did like this, I'll do this to you. Or we may immigrate, not because we are looking for there's something better to do in life, but just because this is such a terrible thing, we want to get out of here. So then, all three things, the problem is still in our mind and it will go on. But we can do all three with a positive attitude. Tolerate simply means that we keep small things small so that we can focus on big things. This is the problem, but there are many other things good in my life. This is what I want to focus on, so I won't get. Mitigate means we try to correct it, not to get back at someone else, but we correct it so that there is proper justice, there is proper dharma, proper order that is established. And we immigrate not because we can't deal with the problem, or that may also be true, but because we feel my life is meant for better things. I don't want to get involved in just fighting with this issue. Let me focus on something bigger. Okay. So that clarity of what to do, that will come through the absorption in Krishna. So absorption in Krishna is itself not the solution at a practical material level. We do have to deal with the situation, but the clarity to find that solution at a practical level will come through the absorption in Krishna. You had something else?
Yeah, a question, like as we know that death is inevitable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then why does one treat it with a perception of unfairness? Like, okay, if somebody near to us has died, then...
Yeah, why, if death is inevitable, why do we feel death as shocking or unfair? Yeah, that's because three reasons. Sometimes the death is unexpected and premature. We normally expect that a person should live their full life, and old age they die. If somebody dies in youth or middle age or childhood, then it feels very unfair. That's one reason. That's one of the big reasons why people say there's a problem of evil in the world. So that's another thing. Could be that although that death is inevitable, somehow we in the routine course of our life live as if life is normal, and we don't expect death. So because of that, when death comes, it's always a shock. And that's why, because the soul is eternal, and the soul is currently trying to eternalize the material level of reality. And that's why whatever we can get at the spiritual level, we are trying to get at the material level. And some of our attempts are successful, some of our attempts are not successful, but at least the hope that it will be successful goes on. But when death comes, that hope is shattered and it becomes unbearable. So death is so disorienting because our conception that life will go on and I can create a good life, a happy life, enduring life in this level, that is strongly shattered. And that leads to the third point, that death ultimately is a manifestation of God. Kalosmi, Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita. That by disrupting the temporary, Krishna forces us to look at the eternal. So then if we do that, then death will not appear so disruptive. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay. What is the realistic way of resolution other than being positive and connecting to the Lord? That's why I said tolerate, mitigate, immigrate. There are three practical things which we have to, one of the options we have to choose. Any problem we have, either I live with it, or I change it, or I move away from it. But these situations, to do them in a positive attitude, we need a proper connection with the Lord and proper self-understanding. So when something seems unfair, is it try again till you succeed approach that we should use? Not exactly. We have to use our intelligence to decide how best to move forward in the situation. If I am pursuing a particular career, say in India, many of us may have wanted to go to IIT, and we may make one attempt, second attempt, third attempt. But if somebody spends 10 years trying to get into IIT, that's not worth it, isn't it? The IIT itself is 4 years. So we have to have a sense of proportion. Okay, this is important, but there is a bigger life also. So in general, intelligence Srila Prabhupada defines as to see things in their proper perspective. Proper perspective means this is important, this is more important, this is less important. So should we keep trying till we succeed? Not necessarily. Sometimes reversal in a particular area might mean that this is not the best field for us, we should work in some other field. Sometimes reversal might just mean circumstances are not good for me, but I have interest in this field, I have talent in this field, I have zeal for this field, so I will persevere. So it is basically with our intelligence we have to decide what is the best way forward for me. Sometimes the reversals may come, as I said, because of circumstances. Then if circumstances change, we might get the results. But sometimes the lack of results might just be because I am not meant for this field. So we can't just say keep trying, keep trying. That idea is there. We could say that yes, we should always keep trying, but whether trying in this field or some other field, in this job or this relationship or that relationship, or this career, that career, that is something which we will have to decide. So we can, as devotees, if we want to say that whatever we are doing in our material life and material career, that is also for serving Krishna. So we are fixed in the purpose of serving Krishna, but we are flexible in the process of how we serve Krishna. Okay, if this doesn't work out, I'll try this. If this doesn't work out, I'll try this. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Thank you for coming. My question. In Gita, it talks about one should have a regulated sleeping and happiness. So in this fast period, how can we practice and not get discouraged in Krishna consciousness, because everything looks very uncertain.
In which days? In these?
Uncertain in the amount of job commitment, because finance changes or they expect us to work more.
Okay. So the Bhagavad-gita says we should be regulated, but in today's competitive world, the company work doesn't allow us to be regulated. So, so what do we do? Yeah. In our life, we all go through phases. So phases means that if the traffic, if you want to go in a particular direction, if the traffic is too much, at that time we go slowly. Once the traffic clears, we start going faster. So there can be times in our life when we may not be able to be regulated, but we just accept that. And we move forward in life, and whenever the situation improves, we try to come back to regulation. So lack of regulation, like a time when there is too much traffic, we can't move at all fast. So, but afterwards, when the workload decreases, then we can try to be regulated. Even while striving for regulation, as we are not meant to become attached to regulation. We don't want to make regulation as a precondition for doing anything else, including our devotion. Our attachment to Krishna has to be greater than our attachment to regulation also. Regulation helps us to move towards Krishna. Regulation helps us to be overall balanced in our life. But sometimes regulation is just not possible. Circumstances are like that. So, and there are phases in life. If a loved one is sick or something like that in hospital, or if you have family in future and then you have a child. The child is like an alarm clock that goes off anytime. So then you cannot say, tell the child, this is my 6 hours sleep quota or 7 hours sleep quota, don't wake up now. You can't do that. So for millennia now, people have lived with lack of regulation also. So life has its phases. Now, if in a particular career that excessive demanding kind of thing is not just a phase but it's a regular pattern, and if we can't take it, then we may have to think that maybe I need to look for some other job somewhere else. We may decide that okay, this job maybe it's it's giving me some credibility or it's giving me some financial stability, so I'll do it for some time and then I'll shift over to somewhere else. So basically we all have to endure phases of lack of regulation, and we don't have to let that bog our mind. Okay, this is just a difficult phase, let me go through it, tolerate it, and it will get over in due course of time. So it's like sometimes a leech catches and bites and sucks blood. When the leech is sucking blood, at that time if you try to pull the leech out, it will rip the whole skin out. The solution is let the leech drink blood. The leech's tubules are not unlimited. Once its tubules are filled, it will itself let go and you can just flick it off. So like that, sometimes some phases of life are there where things are difficult. If we overreact at that time, that's like trying to pull out the leech, it makes things worse. We tolerate, that phase gets over. Okay, thank you. Yes, bro. So what is the process for find out what is the passion of our life? Should we just go with the flow or try to build life in a certain way? See, living life is like playing a tennis match. In a tennis match, sometimes you are serving and sometimes you are returning. So when we are serving, we have more initiative, more control. We can choose where the volley should go, to the forehand, backhand, what height, where. And now when we are returning, all that we can do is just get the ball back into the play. Even my forehand is very good, but if the opponent serves on the backhand, if I swing with my forehand, I just meet air, nothing will happen. So like that, there are phases in our life when we just have to do what needs to be done. So at that time, finding our passion or anything, just survival is what is most important. But it's just like a player. Tennis is not always returning. There's a time when they have to serve also. So sometimes we are caught in a situation that you feel, I don't like the situation. This is not what I want to do in my life. Now, we don't have to resent that and let that bog us down. Just do the best that we can. The player may not like to return, but that's what you have to do for some time, just keep returning. But then when we are serving, at that time we need to take initiative. That means when we have gone through a particular phase in our life and when we have come to a crossroad, I have to make a decision now. Then we can try to think of what is my strength, what is my interest. So in general, to find out our passion, we can look at two things. Okay, Bhagavad-gita talks about guna karma vibhagashaha. Our nature we can understand through quality and through activities, guna and karma. Now quality means if we are doing something which we are meant to do, then we feel internally comfortable doing it. Internal comfort. Yeah, this feels so good. This just feels so right. I meant to do this. And then karma means external competence. Not just I feel good doing it, but I am good at doing it. So whatever sometimes we just have to go along with the flow. The current of life is so forceful that we can't do anything. So while going along with the flow also, we observe ourselves. Okay, these are things which I really can't do very well. I tried, but I can do a mediocre job. These are things which I feel I'm good at this. So while going along with the flow, try to observe yourself. If we start resenting that I have to go along with this flow, then that resentment consumes our mental energy and we can't learn anything about ourselves or learn anything from the situation. But if you just, okay, this is the phase I had told you, just go along, but keep observing yourself. And then over a period of time, as we keep observing ourselves, we'll ourselves learn. And this is what I'm competent at, and this is what I'm comfortable doing. And that's how we can move along in the flow. So we can even look back at our past and look at that. So in general, we can't make this decision on the spur of the moment. Inside us is our mind, and our mind often acts as a terrible enemy. If we ask the mind, what is your passion in life? The mind will say, whatever you are doing right now, that is not your passion. So, the nature of the mind is it will keep us dissatisfied. So, if you have to do something, just do it wholeheartedly. And then when we come to some intersections, some turns in our life, that time we can look back. Okay, now should I move forward in this direction? Should I move in that direction? So, by self-observation, we learn. And in general, if something is our passion, then the desire to do that is not just circumstantial. Because I find this so frustrating, so I want to do that. No, this is good, I also like this, but still I want to do that. So that means that this is good, but that is the best for me. So usually if something we want to make a major career change or something like that in our life, because we feel something is our passion, then better wait and observe yourself for a period of time. Maybe 6 months, 1 year, and then see, does my drive for this stay on for that long? If it does, then we can do the necessary course correction. So usually going along with the flow patiently, while also being vigilantly self-observant, and then catching the current when it goes in the direction where we want to go. That's how we can find our passion in life. Okay, so how can we overcome, say, negativity like lust, anger, greed, or laziness, and improve ourselves? In general, there are 3 steps. I call it as redirection, reconstruction, and or it's a restriction, redirection, reconstruction. I'll explain this, what I mean by it. Suppose this floor is inclined in this way. Then as soon as water falls on this floor, it's going to move in this direction. It's natural because the floor is inclined. So like that, our mind is also inclined in particular ways. So it may be inclined towards anger, it may be inclined towards depression, it may incline towards lust. So that means as soon as some stimulus comes in, immediately our consciousness starts flowing in that direction. Now if I don't want the water to flow in this direction, what do I do? First thing is restriction. Just saying the water should not flow in that direction is not going to help. Even if I say water should not flow, still it is going to flow. So restriction. Just put some restriction, put some wall, build some barrier by which it doesn't go in that direction. So we all have our particular weaknesses, and we need some help in overcoming those weaknesses. So if somebody is an alcoholic and they want to give up alcohol, and if their home happens to be right next to a bar, then no amount of willpower is going to be enough. Because even with the strongest willpower, we all have our weak moments, and those weak moments will fall. So restriction means, okay, I can't stay over here. I can't keep alcohol in my house. So some physical barrier, something which makes sure that indulging in that weakness is not so easily possible for us. If I tend to be short-tempered, I decide, if I am angry with someone, I am not going to speak a word for at least 24 hours. And then during that time I will process, and then I will decide what to do. So make some restriction. That's the first step. Second step is redirection. When the water is flowing in this direction, then I have to push the water in the other direction. Push the water in the other direction. That means we have to create a healthier habit. So our emotions, our consciousness needs a channel. So for example, if I feel angry and I just want to vent out, but no, I don't. When I vent out, I hurt others. I hurt myself also. The whole process. I don't want to do that. But then I have to do something to deal with my emotions. I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling depressed. I need to do something about it. So we need a healthier channel for directing our emotions. We accept, yes, I'm feeling like this, rather than thinking that, oh, I should not feel like this. Acknowledge, yeah, I'm feeling like this now. What do I do about it? So if we find out some positive activity which we like to do, say some of us may like kirtans, some of us may like philosophy, Some of us may like, say, darshan of the Lord. So, or something like that, even either sattvic activity or devotional activity, whatever it is, which we like to do. So, at that time, when the negativity starts coming in, we try to keep this positive channel readily accessible. We like kirtans, then keep some nice kirtans in the phone. We like some wisdom, then keep some quotes, keep some inspiring talks, keep some good passages from scripture right next to you, readily accessible, and then immediately access that. So what will happen? The mind needs some relief at that time. This desire is troubling, this trouble is tormenting, and a default would be to go in this direction. But if I decide I'm not going to go in this direction, then if I need an easy channel to go in the other direction. If that channel is not accessible, then it will be very, very difficult. So redirection means I create some mechanism by which I can take my consciousness in another direction. And ultimately, if I don't want the water to go in this direction, I need to reconstruct the floor so that the floor is inclined this way. Then the water will automatically flow in this direction. This reconstruction happens through purification. Purification means when we steadily practice bhakti, then the unwanted desires slowly start going away. And then there the struggle itself goes down. Then right now the water is going this way, but we are pushing it back. But if the floor is inclined this way, the water will not go that way only. That purification will take time, and how much time will depend on how strong that particular weakness is within us, how strong, it's paradoxical, how strong the weakness is. That means that is a weakness, but how strongly it holds on to us. So once we understand that, it may take more time or less time, but purification means the inner struggle itself will decrease, and then internally we will have joy, we'll have peace and joy. So as far as these are three broad steps in any program for self-improvement. Now, in general, to implement this, if it's a serious weakness that we have, it's helpful to have some kind of tangible goals. Okay, instead of thinking lifelong, I will never do this again. The mind makes lifelong appear to be too long. And then it says, lifelong you can't do it. Anyway, you're not going to do it. You'll do it today only now. So better plan that, okay, for 1 week, for 1 month, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this seriously. And that seems, okay, that maybe I can manage it. 1 month. And then after 1 month, instead of saying, okay, then look back and see, okay, what happened? How much did I miss something? What was the nature of my life? What was the quality of my life? Take stock of that, then you feel, yeah, this was good, maybe I can continue this. Or maybe we decide that, this was, I managed to control myself, but it was too difficult. I need some other way to redirect myself. This particular way is not working, and this particular restriction is not so feasible. Maybe I'll have to have something else. So we can keep the purpose the same, but we can make course corrections. The key thing here is that never make a resolution that a dead person can keep better than you. What do I mean? Don't make a negative resolution. I will never overeat. Dead person is never going to overeat. They are not going to eat only. So negative resolutions, they are very difficult to sustain. Because what happens, any negative resolution makes us feel as if I am being deprived. And that is not so easy to take. So sometimes we have to give up something negative. But our focus should be, let me do something positive. So whenever I have a tendency to overeat, I may decide that, okay, before I take a meal, I may do this. Before I explode at someone, I may decide, I will chant the Hare Krishna mantra 11 times. I will take a deep breath 11 times. If I explode at someone, then maybe as a atonement, I will chant a few rounds of Hare Krishna. I will read scripture more. Something like that. Focus on the positive, not on the negative. Because if we focus on the negative and the negative doesn't work, we'll feel my whole resolution was failed and I'm useless. But we are all human beings. We are all fallible. We'll all fail sometimes in our resolutions. But the ultimate solution is not just not doing the negative. The ultimate solution is diligently doing the positive. So if we make a resolution, yes, I want to give this up, but I won't focus on giving this up. I'll focus on doing the positive. So many times, whatever negative thing we are doing, that is a result of that is an unhealthy expression of a healthy need. Say some people may just spend a lot of time surfing on the net, and then they go into unwanted things and unwholesome things they surf on the net. So now I won't do this, I won't do this. I may just decide like that, but again I may succumb. So then rather than thinking, okay, I will not do this, focus on what is the need that this is serving. Maybe I'm just bored, and when I'm bored, I need some stimulation. So then find out what is a healthy way to get that stimulation, and focus on resolving to get that healthy stimulation regularly. And by that, this unhealthy stimulation need will automatically go away. If I just say, I'll not do this, then I do it, I feel, then I'll beat myself up. I have no willpower, I'm good for nothing, I'm useless. So better than that, focus on connecting with something positive. See what is the need that is being served and how that can be fulfilled in a healthy way. And even if there is some relapse over here, gradually the healthy habit will help us to get rid of the unhealthy habit. Okay. Stop.
One last question at all? Okay, thank you.
So thank you very much. Shila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Jai Gaur Premanande.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya Charan.